Important student loan repayment steps to take now. Let's begin with a disclaimer. The content in this webinar is as up to date as possible as of the recording of this webinar. A federal court issued an injunction preventing the U.S. Department of Education from implementing parts of the Saving on a Valuable Education Plan and other IDR plans. We are assessing the rule and will continue to update at studentaid.gov/saveaction with more information. Again, that's studentaid.gov/saveaction with more information. Let's move along to today's agenda. We'll begin today discussing Unram Period and its ending. So when that time began and end. Number 2, what happens after Unram Period ends? And number 3, options if you can't afford your payments. Number 4, ways to keep payments on time. And then we'll go into number 5, a knowledge check, and we'll give you some helpful hints, number 6, and finally we'll share some of your feedback in number 7. So we'll have a great time today, and I hope you learn and enjoy today's presentation. Let's move on to Unram. Period is ending. Understanding the Unram Period. The U.S. Department of Education created a temporary on-ramp period to protect federal student loan borrowers from the consequences of missed payments after payments resumed in October of 2023. If you missed some of your payments during the period, you weren't considered delinquent, you weren't reported to the credit bureaus, or placed in default, or referred to debt collection agencies. Again, the on-ramp period will end on September 30th, 2024. The on-ramp period, important reminders. Again, here are 3 critical important reminders. No need to enroll. Number 2, payments still due and interest still accrues. And number 3, won't count towards forgiveness. Let's go back. Do we need to enroll? As I stated earlier, we do not need to enroll. If your loans were eligible for payment pause, you're automatically eligible for the on-ramp period and don't need to take any actions to receive the benefit. So you don't have to go through a whole enrollment process to participate. Number 2, payments are still due and interest still accrues. During the on-ramp period, your student loan payments were still due and interest continues to accrue and it adds up. Not making payments usually result in you owing more on your student loan. So you want to make sure you stay on time with your payments and covering any interest at the same time. Will it count towards public service loan forgiveness? Number 3, if you miss payments during the on-ramp period, those months won't count towards your loan forgiveness under an income-driven repayment plan or public service loan forgiveness, known as PSLF. Let's move on to slide number 7. What happens after the on-ramp period ends? Isaiah?
Thank you, Fred. You covered quite a bit on what the on-ramp period is. Now we're going to cover what happens after the on-ramp period ends and what you need to know. Let's start out with first what happens the day after your due date has expired. That means that your loans have become delinquent. That information is also provided to the credit agencies. So it's important to know whether or not your account will be considered current or delinquent. Now, if you are 90 days late, that's where your loan servicer is required to report your delinquency to the national credit bureaus. And this may impact your credit and your future borrowing ability. Now, if you are 270 days late, then your loan is considered to go into default. So by defaulting on your student loans, that does have some consequences. And you need to know exactly the status of your student loans, particularly as it relates to the consequences that are associated with it. Now, if you do default on your student loans, then we have to report your loans and refer them to the collections as well as to the national credit bureaus. And we will attempt to collect the full amount of the debt through a number of methods, whether that's through wage garnishments and withholding of your tax refund. And it's important to note that if you are going into these situations, to make sure that you're contacting your loan servicer for information or your options that are available to you. So talking about those options, if you can't afford your payments, is number one, we do have an income-driven repayment plan that's commonly known as IDR. This is where you're able to make monthly payments based upon your income and family size instead of your loan balance or your interest rates. This payment can go down or up depending upon if your income or family size changes, but it also provides numerous benefits, including IDR loan forgiveness. That's after you made a certain number of payments. It can also provide you lower monthly payments, increasing the affordability of repaying back on your student loans, as well as those that are signed up under the income-driven repayment plan, or also known as your IDR, you may be eligible for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. So it's very important that you understand the benefits as it pertains to the IDR plan. Now, if you are interested in signing up for the IDR plan, you want to visit studentaid.gov/loan simulator to explore the various repayment plans as well as estimate your monthly amount. Now, just keep in mind that that particular estimate is only an estimate and is not considered final until you had a chance to sign up for the program, apply for the program, and go through the necessary steps, such as contacting your loan servicer if you have any questions about the plan that you're eligible for or which plan offers the lowest payment amount. You can also find out who your loan servicer is by visiting studentaid.gov/servicer. You also, if you want to switch to your IDR or apply for IDR plan, you can visit studentaid.gov/IDR, where you can download the IDR PDF application, and on it will list all the instructions as to how to complete the form, as well as contact necessary persons if you need additional information. You also want to gather your documentation. You also want to look at your most recently filed tax returns or your tax transcripts, your W-2s, your pay stubs, bank statements, and other information. Collect those information because we will need to add information from those documents onto your application itself. And lastly, you want to make sure now that you know who your loan servicer is, contact them, visit their website to log in and upload the IDR PDF application and documentation to have it processed and receive an answer back. So just to recap, you want to make sure that you're going to studentaid.gov account. If you don't know your username or your password, you can retrieve it right there. Now, by processing this information as it pertains to your IDR plan, you may be eligible for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program or total and permanent disability discharge, as well as the school-related discharge options too. These are in cases that you're experiencing, the circumstances that you're experiencing. And in certain situations, your federal student loans can be forgiven, canceled, or discharged, meaning that you won't have to pay back some and or all of the remaining balance on your loans. And you can do this through 3 programs. One, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Keep in mind, if you would have to work full-time for a government or certain nonprofit organizations, and you may qualify based upon the amount of qualifying payments that you have made, which in this case is 120, or cumulatively is 10 years. You can start your process at visiting studentaid.gov/public service. Now, if you do have a disability, whether it's physical or mental, that severely limits your ability to work, now or in the future, you can qualify for a discharge of your student loan through our total and permanent disability discharge, which is also known as your TPD. And you could visit the link you see on your screen to get started to learn more about that today. And lastly, we have a school-related discharge options. That's where if your school has closed, no longer in operation while you were enrolled, as soon as after you withdrew, you may be eligible for a closed school discharge. And if you believe that your school has misled you about your decision to enroll and take out federal student loans, you can also apply for forgiveness through the borrower defense. We do have the links on your screen, as well as we'll put the links in the description. Therefore, so you can learn more about those particular programs. When going through this process, you also may be placed into what's called forbearance and deferment. And you may be placed into these depending upon your current circumstance. For example, if you're in a short-term financial bind, you can contact your loan servicer and find out if you can qualify for the deferment or forbearance, meaning that your student loan payments will be temporarily suspended and you won't be required to make payments during that period. In most cases, the interest will continue to accrue during the period of deferment or forbearance, so your loan balance will continue to increase and you end up paying more over time. But again, it's to fit that short-term financial bind at that particular situation, so you don't get penalized or placed into delinquent or default status. Now, if you're pursuing the student loan forgiveness, keep in mind that certain periods of deferment and most periods of the forbearance will not count toward your forgiveness requirements, and you'll start making progress. You'll stop making progress toward forgiveness until you had resumed repayment. So a couple examples that were just to show you the differences between deferment and forbearance and knowing which way or which option you'll be able to qualify or maybe qualifying for. When we talk about deferment, we're talking about your medical situation. We're talking about if you're enrolled or involved in your military service or you're going through unemployment. That's deferment. When we're talking about forbearance, that's where you're experiencing financial difficulties, you're serving in the National Guard, or you're working on as a teacher to qualify for the teacher loan forgiveness. If you don't know exactly which one you may be eligible for, the first steps are always to visit studentaid.gov, and the second steps will be to contact your loan servicer about your options. Lastly, we want to talk about the student loan consolidation. That's where you have more than one federal student loan with varying interest rates because you may have borrowed at different periods of time. The good thing about this program is that you're able to consolidate all of your federal student loans into one loan under one interest rate. And by doing that, you create one monthly bill. It can decrease based upon your monthly payment. And if you're enrolled in our IDR, the Income-Driven Repayment Plan, it can actually expand your access to those particular programs because you have consolidated, as well as provided you access to the student loan forgiveness options, such as the PSLF or the IDR forgiveness based upon your circumstances. But keep this in mind, there are disadvantages to consolidate too, because you are paying a higher total amount over the life of the loan as a result of having a longer repayment period. Now, any outstanding interest at the time of consolidation is then added into the principal of the new loan. And lastly, because of the loss of there, you do lose some borrower benefits such as the purchase only cancellation benefits. So you have to assess your current situation. It's always good practice to also speak to a professional, speak to a representative, or speak to your loan servicer about your options. Now, there are ways to keep your payments on time. Number one, as you heard me say throughout this webinar, know your loan servicer. It's always beneficial to you to know your loan servicer, know how to get in touch with them, know how to contact them, and asking the right questions. Your loan servicer are the ones that are handling the billing of your federal student loan. That is at no cost to you. They are able to provide information about their repayment options and as well as assist you with anything other questions that you may have about your student loans. Now, if you're having trouble making the payments, you want to make sure you contact them so they can tell you and guide you through the various options that may be available to you. And if you don't know who your loan services are, you can always visit studentaid.gov. You can check it out on your student aid dashboard, or you can call our FISAC, also known as the Federal Student Aid Information Center, at 1-800-433-3243. Now, when you log into your studentaid.gov account, 3 things you need to know. Number one, what is your aid? That's where the section of the dashboard in the upper left-hand corner is going to display your total loan and grant amount, funds that have been dispersed to the school on your behalf. Then on the lower left-hand side, if you're looking at it from your screen, it'll dive into your activity that shows you any outstanding actions that you need to take. It'll show you application statuses, things that you need to know are in progress or need attention. Lastly, finding your loan services located in the upper right-hand corner, you'll be able to see servicer information. And if you owe any upcoming payments, it's just basically breaking down your payments by the amount and the servicer in case you have more than one. Most borrowers have only one, but in the case, you'll be able to see and list all of the loan servicers that are currently servicing your federal student loans. And as you're navigating your studentaid.gov account, you also want to check out your loan breakdown where it shows the interest rate and the total amount due for each loan before you consolidate. Once you have consolidated, those will be zeroed out and you'll see a larger number based upon one single loan balance. And just keep in mind about the benefits and the disadvantages of consolidating those loans and what works best for you. That's the key, is what works best for you. Now, I know we covered a lot, but if you're ready, we're going to test the knowledge on what we have just said. Fred?
Thanks, Isaiah. Let's go ahead and go through our knowledge check to see what you all can remember by asking a couple of questions, and we'll give you a few seconds to respond. Question number 1, is this statement true or false? The on-ramp period ends on September 30th, 2024. Is that true or false? The on-ramp period ends on September 24th, 2024. Let's take a few seconds to see who all can get this answer right. Very important point. Let's see what the answer is to question number 1. The on-ramp period will end September 30th. So the answer is true. If you're struggling to make payments, explore the options discussed during this webinar and contact your student loan servicer for help staying on track. You can visit studentaid.gov/restart for more information to help you prepare for your student loan payments. Let's go on to question number 2. Which of the following options can help you if you're struggling to afford your monthly student loan payments? Is it A, apply for an income-driven repayment plan or IDR? B, check to see if you're eligible for student loan forgiveness? Is it C, ask your loan servicer about deferment or forbearance options? Or is it D, all the above? Take a few seconds and choose your best answer, the answer. Again, which of the following options can help you if you're struggling to afford your monthly payments each month? Let's see what the answer is. The answer is D, all the above. All the above are steps you can take if you're struggling with your student loan payments. Again, the IDR plan information is there on your screen at the URL studentaid.gov/IDR, as well as information related to student loan forgiveness at studentloan.gov/forgiveness, and thirdly, forbearance and deferment. You can also go to studentaid.gov/deferment-forbearance to get more information about those two programs. So those are some great questions here. You all did very well in answering them. Isaiah, do we have any helpful resources that might support our listeners?
Absolutely. Let's start out with some of the resources that we believe you might find helpful. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see all the list of the resources that we have covered in today's webinar. They're anywhere from restarting student loan payments page that we have on studentaid.gov, 6 ways to prepare for student loan payments, our loan simulator, compare your student loan repayment plans with our student loan calculator, as well as the student loan forgiveness. We believe these resources will be very helpful, so please take the time to share it with your network, your community, and those that are interested in learning more about federal student loan repayment options. Now, if you ever want additional information, check out studentaid.gov for more information. Have a good day.